Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is excited for today's session. So let's start. My name is Anuj Sharma. I lead the community and operations here at Hack to Skill. And today we are gonna be a part of Robotic Process Automation Developer Camp. Now, what is Robotic Process Automation? What is this developer camp all about? Why did we collaborate with JMIT and the AR Club? So I'll take you through everything quickly. Robotic Process Automation Developer Camp is presented by Uipath Community and Hack to Skill, where we aim to help students start their journey with RPA, provide opportunities, motivations, and help them build their first bot, start their journey with the Uipath Academy, and clear out the myths and facts about RPA. So we reached out to JMIT for the same, and thanks a lot, Monica ma'am and Mayank from AR Club, who initiated this conversation on the behalf of JMIT, did this collaboration, and made this possible. So we as in like RPDC, provides a streamlined path of a learning for participants to follow in order to grasp the concepts of technology. Because if you just check out what is RPA and is it trending, so it's going to be in the top five technologies, technological boom, or the upcoming top five technologies. So why RPA? Because RPA is thriving because with digitalization taking over the world, work has become more complex and humans can't do everything, right? So we need bots to make our work easy. That doesn't mean that it's going to take over the jobs and leave humans behind. So without delay, I'll like to invite Anmol Yadav, who's RP analyst and Spurgeon Technologies, and also an UiPath MVP, who will take this session forward. Hi Anmol, how are you?
Hi Anna, I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. So I won't take much of your time. You can share your screen, start with the presentation, and setting up the agenda for today's session. Anmol will be covering what RPA is, the basics of RPA, myths and facts, how to start your own journey, UiPath Academy, Uipath Forum, community, show you what Uipath Studio looks like, and a lot more. So over to you, Anmol. I'll just hop onto the backstage, and you can take it on from here. Best of luck.
Thank you, Anuj. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, your screen is visible.
So before I start on with today's session, which is Introduction to RPA, I'll give a brief introduction about myself. I am Anmol. I am UiPath's most valuable professional for 2021 and 2022, and I work as an RPA analyst or RPA consultant with Speridian Technologies, which is based out in Bangalore. And apart from this, I also create content in and around RPA on my YouTube channel. So that's about me. And now we can start off with Introduction to RPA. So what is RPA? So as Anuj already told you, that it's a technology which is very much in buzz these days. So we keep on hearing all these terms: RPA, digital transformation, hyper automation, software robots. So today we're gonna clear everything, every myth that we have heard of, and everything that we need to know about RPA if we are planning to start a career in RPA or start off as an RPA developer. Now I am not very much aware of that you all belong to which particular stream, like which you have taken computer science or IT, or you even belong to other streams like electronics, biotech, chemical engineering, and all of that. So to start, even if you belong to a stream or if you have opted a stream which does not necessarily involves programming knowledge, and you do not know a lot about programming knowledge like Java, C Sharp, or any other programming knowledge, the best thing is that RPA does not demands you to know a lot of programming knowledge or have very technological skill. It's a low code to no code platform, which means even if you have a minimum of programming knowledge or you do not have any programming background knowledge at all, you can still choose RPA as your career and move on with it. So, what is RPA? So, to simply name it, it is robotics process automation, which means it is a technology that enables a software program, which is the software robot that we create. And it mimics human action while it is interacting with computer application to accomplish required tasks. So anything to everything that you do on a regular basis, like say reading a mail, replying to a certain mail, reading certain data from the application or website, logging to your Amazon account, searching for some product and then ordering it, or looking after stocks, which stock is in high today or which stock is in low today, or you want to log into an application or log into your bank account or do certain operations, look for the debit and the credit transactions, any movement, mouse movement and click you do. You want to make a PPT, you want to send over that PPT, you want to do anything in Excel, Word document, or even including applications like you want to go to Google Drive, upload certain file or download certain file from Google Drive, or if you have heard about Slack or such chat channels like Microsoft Teams, Zoom. So anything that you do, there is a certain lay down steps that you perform. You log into your account, you send messages, or you send friend request. So anything that you do can be accomplished using RPA. So any keyboard input, which means any keystroke that you press in, any mouse movements or click that you do, reading of computer screen. So these are, you can say, very simpler things that you do. But when it comes to advanced thing like logging into an application or reading 10 thousands and millions of rows and finding the row that you want to read in, or as I told you, interacting with Google Drive or Microsoft Teams. So these are enterprise applications: Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Slack. So even when you're interacting with all these applications, that can also be accomplished using RPA. And as you must have heard about the term hyper automation, and you must have heard about terms like artificial intelligence, machine learning. So all these things can also be coined along with RPA or used along with RPA to create a very powerful technology that also has, to a certain level, human intelligence involved with it. But that is kind of an advanced level of RPA. But to give you a flavor of what all can be accomplished using RPA, so there's no end to it. And every, you can say, vertical or horizontal that you can think of, or any sector that you can think of, their RPA can be applied, and it will give you a very good return in terms of how fast your work can be done, or with very less error your work can be done. So that is what is RPA, and that is what is the power of RPA, and why RPA has become a buzzword these days in the technology. Moving further. Okay. So what is RP? As we already know that it mimics human action. So anything and everything that we do can be done using RP as well. It can operate on any application. It can be a web application, which means it can be any of the website. It can be a Windows application. Then structured reading and actioning data, which means anything that you can lay down as a structure, that you have to perform this step, then after that you have to perform this step. So if there is a, you can say, structured layout, like you can give numbering, that first you have to open your browser, then you have to navigate to this URL, then you have to enter your user ID, then you have to enter your password, and then you'll be able to land onto the home screen, which means you're logged in successfully to that application. So all that is a structured action of data that you have laid down, that the consecutive steps that you have laid down. So once you give that structured steps, that can easily be automated using RPA. Now, no mistakes and without testing. Now, suppose if you have to read 10 thousands of data, 10,000 row of data, and you have to then return a certain row. Say there is a Excel which has records for 10,000 students, and you have to read all that data, or you can say you have to simply go one by one to all the rows, and you have to return the marks of a particular student. So as a human you can make mistake. So to err is human. It is very liable that a human would make mistake when he is reading out 10,000 of data. But the same does not apply when it goes to RPA, because computer is basically a machine, so it is not bound to make mistakes. And so is RPA, because RPA is designed using computer capabilities, and it is a software robot, which means definitely it will not make mistake. It would work as you would have trained it, and it is very quick to implement and powerful to scale. which means you do not require a lot of infrastructure changes, or a lot of machines and a lot of infrastructure to start implementing RPA. Like today, within 5 minutes you can start implementing RPA. There's a application that you'll have to install, which is very easy. We would be seeing it later in the session, how we can install Uipath Studio. And you would be, very quick to start. In 5 minutes, you can start building your own robot. So that is how it is easy to implement RPA. So as a student, for you to learn RPA, it is very useful and it is very easy, because you do not require a lot of RAM or a lot of hard disk or very powerful processor to start with. Simply with your own laptop that you're using in your college, you can just kickstart your RPA journey and start building your own robots. So that is why RPA is very easy to learn and implement, and definitely it is very useful. Moving on. What RPA is not. Now, there are a lot of myths around what RPA is. Okay, so this particular slide will definitely clear all those myths. So, walking and talking robots or humanoid. So, when we hear about robot, we actually picturize a walking robot like we see in movies and all, that this is what RPA is. Whereas it is not. RPA is basically a software robot, which means any application that usually works in your computer. RP is just similar to it. Say it is actually a piece of code that is running behind, and that is RPA, and it is called software robot and not the talking and walking robot that we usually see in pictures. Then warehouse robot. So as you can see in the picture, so it's not like a warehouse robot as well, and it is not human replacement. Now, when we say it can actually mimic human action, it does not mean that when we will make that robot, that particular robot is going to replace us or is going to take our job, because we as a human, we have a intelligent tendency, which of course robot does not have. Robot is only going to do as much we have taught. Of course, robot does not have a sixth sense to do or to take action by itself. Okay, so as we human, we have a reflex action and we have a sixth sense to take a decision on a certain point which is not taught to us, whereas robot cannot do that. So no matter how much we train the robot is not going to replace human, because it does not have intelligence. We can definitely make it as intelligent as possible by providing it a sufficient amount of training on varied amount of data, but definitely there will never come a day where it will replace human. So these are few of the myth around RPA, which is not true. Now, what robots can do. Robot can log into any application. As I told you, it can be a Windows based application. So there are a lot of enterprise level applications that majority of the offices and companies use, like SAP, or you can say like Teams, Zoom. So it can log into that application, and it can as well as log into any desktop application like Amazon, Netflix, Flipkart. So it can log into any applications. It can move file and folder. So we keep on doing this thing quite frequently, that we have to move certain file from a certain folder to another folder, or delete it, or create new folders, or categorizing the file based on date, or say putting movie file into one folder, putting all the picture file into one folder, putting all the documents and resumes into another folder. So all that categorizing and everything can be done easily by a robot. Then reading and writing to our databases. You must have heard about databases, SQL databases or MongoDB databases. So which is actually used to store large amount of data in form of tables. So creating the table, writing the data to that particular table, or reading the data from that particular table, all can be done using RPA. Then scraping the data from the web. So as I told you, reading a lot of data that is present on your web screen. Suppose when you search for a particular product, you went to Amazon, you searched for a particular mobile phone, you get hundreds and thousands of options. So now scraping all the data, like what is the mobile phone name, what is the price range, when would it be delivered. So, reading all that data all at once and storing it into a certain file so that it is available to you, or, even applying certain filters according to your choice and then providing it to you. That can also easily be done using RPA, which is actually creating a shopping robot for you, which would actually go and search into a shopping website according to your preference or according to the choice of product you want, and would then pick up, you can say, top 5 products based on the filter you wanted to put in, and then provide you it over a mail, with all the details that okay, this is the product, this is the link, this is the cost, this is the delivery date. So how easy would it be that you actually do not have to spend time going on and scrolling the entire website to look for the best product that you want. So that can also be done easily using RPA. Then connect to system APIs. So APIs are actually programming interfaces, which is instead of interacting directly with the system, which is avoiding the UI automation. UI interaction, which means when you log into a certain application, now suppose you wanted to get the list of all the students from a certain website. So, what would you basically do? You would log into that particular website, click here and there, and then reach to a page that actually displays you all the students. Whereas, what does API do? That you're gonna hit that particular API, which means it's a type of URL, and you're going to call that URL or hit that URL. When I say call that URL or hit that URL, is simply you navigating to that particular URL, and that URL itself will make you reach directly to that particular page which contains the data. So that is what API does. So your all the UI interaction that you had to do with the system to get certain data out of it, if you want to skip all of that UI interaction, you can make use of APIs. And robots, which means RPA, is very much capable of interacting with APIs. There are a lot of third party applications, and integration to those applications is possible using API, which means all the applications that I was talking of earlier, which is Teams, Zoom, or you can say Twilio, or I would like to name few of the applications that you guys could relate to. Slack, if you guys relate to, or you can say any your even this college website. So all these websites and all these applications, they do have APIs, and you can get the data out of it by calling those APIs or by navigating to those certain URLs. Then extract content from documents, PDF, emails, and forms. So when you actually get an email, what is that you do? You read that email, and you categorize or filter the data that you want out of that email. Suppose you got an email with a voucher code. So the thing that you want actually out of that email is the code. Okay. Simply if you've got certain PDF, which is an invoice. So you would simply read, okay, what all items you have bought and what is the total amount that you have to pay. Same thing goes with the document. Say, if we would have received your resumes, so we would actually look at that, okay, how much percentage you have got, or how many projects you have done, or what are the achievements that you have got. So out of that entire resume, there are certain things that we want to extract. And so goes with the form, that if you filled in certain form and we wanted to check that whether you are passing the age criteria or not. So out of that form, the thing that we wanted to extract is your age. So all these content, the specified content that I would want to read from certain files. Now it could be PDFs, it could be Excel, it could be Word document, or it could be any format of the document. So what robot can do, you can train your robot to extract only those information that is useful to you. Then opening of emails and attachments. So the robot is capable of reading the content that is in the email, as well as reading the content that is present in the attachment. So robot can download the attachment, read the details from the attachment, as well as read the details from the email. And not just this, it can also read who has sent you the email, when it has sent you, what is the subject of the email, who is in CC, who is in VCC, and whatnot. Last but not the least, make calculations. So from simple to the most complex calculation that you can usually do using your computer, you can also achieve it using your robot. So as I told you, now this again proves the point that we were discussing, that anything and everything that you can do or a human can do, robot is capable of mimicking those actions, whether it is related to doing the calculations, whether it is related to opening the emails and the attachments, moving of the files, logging to application, and so on and so forth. So these are just few of the things that we have listed out here, what robot can do. But as I told previously also, there is no end to what robot can do. You can train it to do any possible thing which is possible for a human to do. Now, use of RPA in business. Now, this is something that why actually RPA is becoming a buzzword these days. Why is it, one of the top trending technologies? Because there is almost every sector where RPA can be used. And that is why all the companies are thriving towards digital transformation, and they're setting their goals to, digitally transform their entire organization. And how can they do it? They can only do it when they apply RPA to every sector possible. So the education sector, of course, you guys can relate to the education sector as well. When you get yourself admitted in your college, so there's an enrollment process. Then you go to colleges, then you go to attend your classes, and there's an attendance that's being taken care of. And that's why when you do not satisfy 70% or 75% of attendance, you are given a notice sort of thing that you will not be permitted to sit in the exams. So all these things are actually being recorded somewhere. So they are storing actually it in a computer, of course, that how many classes they have has been there in the college and how many of you have attended it. And then they actually calculate the average that whether you have crossed 70% of the attendance or 75% of the attendance bar or not. And accordingly then this send out the notification to those students who do not satisfy that criteria, that okay, you have this much time or a semester's time to meet your attendance bar, or otherwise you will not be permitted to sit in the sessionals or the exam. Then scheduling meetings. Now, suppose as we have gathered here today for the stream of RPA, so it was a scheduled meeting that you all were informed to. Now you can create a robot who can actually schedule a meeting and keep sending reminders to you that okay, there is a session at 4 or there is a session at 3. 3 days are left for the session or 2 days are left for the session. So all these things can be made by a robot, and that would of course save a lot of time at your end. So instead of a faculty or a student doing this, that's scheduling the meeting and then sending reminders to the students so that they can join the session, a robot instead can do it. Then classroom and online learning. After the session has ended, if you want to send out you can say a homework sort of thing or a rollout, that okay, these were the main takeaways from the session and this is what is the prerequisite for the next session. If all these things are being jotted down and sent to all the students via mail, that okay, before attending the first session, the next session, you have to come prepared with these prerequisite. So a robot can be even made with that. Then answering queries. You must have seen a lot of chatbots here and there on almost every website that you open to, especially when you open a travel website. So there's a chat box popping up on the right bottom of your screen, like when are you planning for the visit or the vacation, what is the date, what is the location. So the same thing can also be created in education perspective, which means which actually looks for to which stream you belong to or to which subject you're looking for, or you wanted to know who the faculty is, or you wanted to know which lesson is being taught, or if you have any queries related to the session, all that can be implemented using making a chatbot enabled with RPA. Then library robots or alerts, giving alerts on your phone, on your WhatsApp or on your mails about the next upcoming sessions or about the next sessionals or about the next semester. So all these are the things that can be implemented using RPA in educational sector. I mean, of course, you can also try making one or two of these robots for your college as well. Then we have supply chain. So inventory management. So inventory management basically comes in picture wherein you have a sort of inventory of say all the groceries and how many items are being sold out and how many is left in the inventory, so that when the inventory is out, another order is placed so that the inventory is filled in. And then when you go and ask for a certain item, so it actually checks the inventory that okay, if there is any item left or not, to give it to you. So all this can be automated by a robot because it's simply keeping a track of what is left and what you have given. So, to talk in layman language, it's like addition and subtraction of what is there with you and what you have already given out to customers. Then invoice and contract management. Then if we talk about IT sector, so server and app monitoring. So there are a lot many times when a server goes down. So what actually an IT person who's actually looking after server maintenance is supposed to do, it has to that person has to keep on doing a routine maintenance, like hitting a certain URL and seeing whether the server is actually up and running or not. So if the response is coming, which means the server is actually working fine. But if the response is not coming at a particular time or within a particular time frame, which means the server is down. So instead of a human sitting and every hour checking that whether the server is up and running, if there is a robot placed in position who actually hits the URL every time and see whether the response is coming or not. If in case the response is not coming at a certain interval of time, then he can actually send out an email notification to all the user stating that as of now the server is down. It would be up and running in say next 30 minutes or next hour. And when the server goes up and running, it can again send out an email notification that okay, everything is up and running and you can continue with the task. So that is again one of, you can say, monotonous work done in IT sector, which instead of a human doing it, a robot can do it. Then, if I talk about HR, payroll, and onboarding and offboarding. So, whenever an employee enters an organization, which means the employee is onboarded, and there's a lot of formalities that is being done, signing of the contract, signing the offer letter, then taking all the documentation, your PAN, your background verification, your Aadhaar, everything. So that is all a part of onboarding process, and it's actually a very tedious and long process, which of course takes a lot of human effort from the HR's end as well as from the employee end, of course. So instead of an HR or as a human doing that particular step stuff, because it's late, it's structured that after this you have to submit this, then after this you have to submit this. So as I said earlier also, if there's any structured task that we know that okay, after step 1 we have to do step 2, after step 2 we have to do step 3. So that is actually a perfect thing for automation, a perfect process to pick for automation. So it can be picked up for automation. Similarly, offboarding, when an employee actually leaves the organization, there are a lot of exit formalities that has to be done. So instead of a person putting all its time and effort into that process, which is kind of monotonous and also laid down very well, all the steps are known that after this we have to perform this. So instead of a human doing it, a robot can do it. Basically, whenever we pick any process for automation, there are few things that we keep in mind. So if a process which is very monotonous and it takes a lot of time and effort, or very tedious, which means it's a long process, say that process is 50 steps, and all of them are being laid down, which is at a rule, it's a rule based task. So if a person does X, the robot has to do Y. If a person does A, the robot has to do Y. So there's a rule to everything that if a person submits the Aadhaar, you have to ask for PAN. Or if a person is leaving the organization, you have to send out this particular form to the person. So it's a rule based task. You know what you have to perform if X thing happens. So such process are very fit for automation, and because it is a kind of monotonous task. And why is RPA so much in demand? It because it does not take up your time doing that monotonous task daily. Now what HR is supposed to do at the end of every month, HR is supposed to generate the payroll, which is nothing but the salary of the person. So it's a monotonous task that the HR has to do every month, at the end of every month, for all the employees, which means it's a lot of work. So instead of HR doing that, a robot can simply do it. And because now the robot is doing it, it would do it faster, it would do it with no error, and the efficiency would also be much. Now, the HR can utilize his or her time for more meaningful tasks that the robot cannot do. So, HR can now use his time and effort for more meaningful tasks or more productive tasks that the robot is incapable of doing, which means that will add more value to the organization. So, all the monotonous tasks are being done by a robot, and all the meaningful and more productive tasks are being done by the employees. So this would benefit the employee as well as the organization. And this is the reason why RPA is being so much in buzz these days in the IT world. Now, client services. Whenever we actually call someone that we have something related to some network related problem, okay, some recharge related problem, or we want to, complain about a product, or we want to schedule appointment, we actually call, and then there is a automated thing that takes us to customer care executive. And sometimes we do not even need to go to customer care executive. So there is an automated call, and we follow the instruction, press 1, press 2, press this, and our job is done. Okay, so that is actually a robot only doing that particular thing. So that is client services. Then we have accounting. So creation of account, updation of account, or creating of any report, that also can be done using robot. Then operations, order creation, order update, or work order request. So all these request creation, updation of any order, updation of price of a particular item, all this can also be done using robot. So these are few of the sectors, and we saw that how RPA is so much useful in almost all of these sectors. Now you can name any sector, and there would be something RPA can do there and save a lot of time and effort in that sector. So that is why RPA is so much in demand these days. Now, as we already discussed while we were discussing about use of RP in various sectors, so there's an increased execution speed because now the human is not doing the job. Instead, a robot is doing their job. And when a machine is actually doing their job, we know it would definitely be faster, because us reading a certain, you can say, document, or us reading doing certain calculation, whereas a calculator doing that calculation, there would definitely be a lot of variation in the speed as well as in the accuracy. So that is one of the top advantage of RPA. The speed is fast, the accuracy is fast, because of course machine is not bound to make mistake, whereas humans are. Improved regulatory compliance. So any compliance that is not being met, so while RPA is being put into picture, the everything is make sure that we are compliant to the system or compliant to the applications that we are automating. Reduce cost of process execution. Now definitely when that particular task, say reading of 10,000 rows, if a person is supposed to do this job, the person definitely would take a lot of time to read that 10,000 rows and then process it, which means it is going to take a more time. So suppose if I had to do that, I may take 10 to 16 hours to do that, whereas robot would definitely take 2 minutes to do that. So wherever time is involved, money is definitely involved. So as much as less time you will take, the money would also be less. So therefore the cost to process execution is comparatively very less because the speed is very fast. Then easier scaling. Now suppose that process today is being done by one robot. If we want to scale it, now instead of 10,000 rows, we have got 100,000 rows. So when one robot is doing their job, we can also make three robots to do that job, so that that job is done pretty much faster more, which is easier scaling. We can actually scale the number of robots doing that particular job, and it does not require a lot of infrastructure changes, as I told you. So RPA actually works on your underlying infrastructure, which means you need not to put in a very high power computers or very fast processors. It is easily scalable, and you can easily add on more and more robots doing the same task if you want to. So these are few of the benefits of RPA. Now RPA growth and opportunities. This is something you guys would be new to. It's a future of work. So, as you must be hearing these days a lot about RPA. I mean, if you go to LinkedIn, everywhere you'll hear about RPA. There are a lot of tools in the market these days that are now, excuse me, that are now doing the same thing like RPA tools. There are, of course, few of the market leaders for RPA, Uipath being one of them. Just give me a second, guys. Okay, thank you, Sanan. Okay. The future of work. So it is estimated that by 2025, 85 million jobs may be replaced by 97 million new roles, with the new division between human, machines, and algorithm, which is nothing but RPA coming in picture. And there was also a report by McKinsey, if I'm not wrong, that by 2025, there would be, say, 120% more jobs in RPA than what it is today. Increasing job demand. So it is 40% growth per annum, which is per year. Robotics engineer is the number two, trending number two emerging job in the US with 40% annual growth. And this is by LinkedIn 2020 Emerging Jobs Report. RPA market size growth is also estimated to increase by 40.6% from 2022 to 2027. We are in 2022, which means 5 years from now, 40.6% the global RPA market size would increase. Then the majority of RPA salaries in the US range between $94,000 to $131,500, with an average annual salary also being given. So it's a well-paid job, and you actually need not to, have a good infrastructure, or you have to meet a lot of prerequisite before you can actually start off your journey. That's the best part about RPA. Even today, right after the session, you can kickstart of your RPA journey, and it's as easy to set up a studio and start building your first robot. We would definitely be covering that. Rapid business transformation. 84% of employees are set to rapidly digitalize working processes. Now, what is happening these days in a lot of companies that they are actually upskilling and reskilling their employees. So, I mean, I used to get a lot of queries with a lot of my viewers that they are doing a testing job, or they are into a, you can say, job that does not involve a lot of coding, and they do not have programming knowledge, but they want to switch to RPA. Two main reasons being that it is one of the top trending technologies, and they are offering well paid jobs. There are a lot of opportunities currently in the market, in the RPA market, and all of them are well paid jobs. And there are, of course, daily active RPA job postings. You can check any job portal, or you can check LinkedIn. Everywhere there are a lot of job openings around RPA, and you need not to require, a lot of, you can say, pre-work experience as well. Even if you go through academy and you go it well, you complete the certification, there are a lot of companies who are even hiring freshers with no prior experience in RPA if they have done their training well. And if you actually have done your training well, it would be very easy for you to grasp everything and start building your robot. So I would say there is a tremendous growth and a lot of opportunities currently in the market. In the RP market, it is flooded with a lot of job opportunities. Okay. Now, why choose RPA as a career? Definitely, all what we do is to, land at a good job wherein we are offered good growth, good learning. In terms of learning and growth, it is good, and of course, if it is a well paid job. And that is why we are studying, that is why we are in college, and everything that we do is to land in a good job and, build our career. Whatever career goals we have set, we want to meet it. So why you should choose actually RP as a career? Because as I said, that was a report by McKinsey, which is of course a very renowned company, which actually has estimated 10 million more jobs by 2025, and so is that millions of jobs. So around 80 million jobs are estimated to be displaced, but it is way too lesser than what is estimated to emerge, which means the number of jobs that are going to come in the coming years would definitely be more than the number of jobs which are estimated to be displaced. And when I say estimated to be displaced, it's because now the RPA is capable of doing all those monotonous and clerical work. So instead, when of course a robot and a software robot can do that job, a human would not be required to do that particular job. And that is where we should, learn to upskill and reskill ourselves towards what is being trending today in the IT sector, and what is being demanded by the global market, which is that you do not spend your time into doing that monotonous and tedious task which a computer robot can do. Instead, you should be able to design those robots to get that job done. So now when you actually design that particular robot, now suppose if you have designed a particular robot, or attendance robot, or you can say a leave robot, which keeps track of how many leaves you have taken, or which keeps track of how many deadlines you have met or how many projects you have submitted. So that is not only going to benefit you, rather it would benefit your entire department, which means you are not only saving your time, you are saving your colleagues time as well. So you have developed a robot which is not only helping you but is also helping all the other employees or all the other colleagues that are working in your department. Okay, so that is what you have displaced, but what has emerged out of it is comparatively more. And that is why RPA should be chosen as a career, because, of course, it is very easy to start off with. There is a lot of growth and a lot of opportunities in the coming years, and it is, of course, trending. And you can, of course, coin it with artificial intelligence and machine learning to do wonders and to create intelligent automation. Now, why UiPath? So there are a lot of other RPA tools also, but UiPath was voted as number one on G2 for RPA and low code categories in all four regions. Okay, so to name few of the other top technologies as well, there is automation anywhere also, there is Power Automate also, there are a lot of open source platform as well. But why is UiPath doing so great? Because it has a very connected community which is there to help you wherever you are stuck. It has academy which has course from beginner to intermediate to experience levels to solution architect. So from the starter category wherein you as a college student are going to enroll, and then you can keep on learning to the top level that an RPA person can go to. So you have courses designed for all those categories. Then you have forum where you can ask your queries, and there's a very close knit community who's always there to help you wherever you are stuck in your RPA journey. And that is the reason why UiPath was voted as number one. Since I could say past many years, it has been leading in the RPA technology market. So as you can see, UiPath is one of the leaders with the highest ranking in current offering, strategy, and RPA market presence category. And these are few of the other automation tools that are named: Microsoft Power Automate, Automation Anywhere, then Workfusion and Nice. These are open source RPA platform as well. But as I told, UiPath is already leading, and it is very easy to kickstart your journey and learn and build your first robot and become an RPA developer later. That is why usually UiPath is chosen. So now talking about UiPath platform. So the UiPath suite has mainly three components. The first being Studio, which is a design automation, which is a place where you actually design automation, where you build your solution with the minimal use of code. Now, the best thing about Studio, when I say that it is a low code to no code thing, which means you do not have to code, you do not have to remember the syntax or write lines of codes. Instead, it is very easy to use. It's like a drag and drop functionality. You can drag any activity, drop it in the Studio, and that activity is gonna do the job for you. The code behind the activity is already written, so you need not to worry about writing big lines of code or remembering the syntax. It's simply drag and drop. Then we have an orchestrator. So it's a cloud-based thing that actually controls and manages and monitor the robot. And robot actually executes the workflow and instruction. To sum it all up, we actually design it in Studio. It's like writing the code in the code editor. That is Studio for us. Now, when we click on run button to let our code run, so that is what actually robot does. Robot helps you run what you have developed in Studio. And the linking between these two is Orchestrator. Orchestrator manages the robot, and robot then runs the automation that you have created using Studio. So this is mainly the entire UiPath platform. These are the three main core components that you should be knowing for you to develop your automation and then to run it. We'll see it, how the Studio looks like, how the robot looks like, and how the orchestrator looks like. Now, this is actually a Uipath Studio where RPA developers design automation visually. So you can see it searched for something, it will search for something, it will drag and drop it here on the right hand side, which is actually your canvas where you're going to build the automation. So nothing of this involves you writing any single line of code even. All you have to do is to drag and drop and learn how to use Studio. So this is what Studio looks like. Then we have Orchestrator. So it's like kind of a web, you can say platform, web interface, which actually helps you manage the robot. And robots are nothing but the software thing, or you can say the robot that actually runs your automation that you have built in Studio. So this is the heart of your automation management. It's like a web interface that manages everything. And now these are the robots. So mainly if I talk about, there are two types of robot. One is attended, the other is unattended. So when I say attended, so attended robots are wherein you actually run that robot. So now you open your computer and you say, okay, I want to run my HR robot. I want to run my onboarding robot. So you'll open your studio, you'll open your computer, you'll open Assistant. Assistant is like a system tray. We'll see all of that in practical as well. And you'll click on a button and then only the robot starts running. So that is attended robot, wherein you decide when you have to run a robot. You'll have to open and you'll have to press a certain button to start your robot. Whereas unattended robot is you'll schedule your robot. Say you do not want to open your computer and you want to say that, okay, I want my robot to run every day at 5 p.m. So you'll schedule your robot. It's just like setting up reminder on your phone that you set your alarm at say 5 a.m. that okay, I want to wake up at 5 a.m. Similar is scheduling a robot that you'll set your scheduler and you'll say that my robot is supposed to run 5 p.m. every day. So robot by itself will run 5 p.m. every day. You do not have to go and give that click that okay, now the robot is supposed to run. And you scheduling that okay, my robot has to run at this particular time, my robot has to run only on weekends, all that can be done using Orchestrator, the web interface that we were talking about. Now, installing Uipath Studio or Studio XM plugins, we'll see that in practical how you can do that. Okay, so to install Uipath Studio, all you have to do is you'll have to go here to cloud.uipath.com. So I am already signed up, but for you as a new user, you'll have to sign up using your Gmail ID or any ID that you have. Looks like some glitch that it is not opening. Okay, it is loading.
Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section. We'll take them all together at the end.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible now.
Okay. Okay. So we'll first see the studio and then later on we'll come back and have a look at the orchestrator. It is not responding as of now. Probably some glitch or the server is not responding. So this is what your studio looks like. So you have a home button from where you can actually create your process. You can create a process, you can create a library, and you can create. So there are n number of templates. As of now, we are going to select a process, which is actually a blank project, and we can go on designing a new automation process. So once you click on process, you'll have an option to enter a name for your process. You can enter that and you can click on create. As soon as you click on create, you'll have a screen like this over here. This is where your project related stuff would be there. Next to it would be your activities, which is something that you'll go on dragging and dropping here like this. So anything that you drag and drop from here will then start working when you provided certain input. Okay. Now the activities are designed in a way that it is pretty easy to use. Suppose if you have to click somewhere, you'll simply search for a click activity. You'll drag and drop a click activity. Okay. Now suppose if I had to open my PowerPoint thing. So I'll have to click here on PowerPoint. Okay. So when I'll actually run my robot, what would my robot do? My robot would also do the same thing. It will go and click on that PowerPoint thing. And this is the selectors that it create. So this is nothing but the piece of code with which our robot identifies what it has to click on the screen. And from here I can debug or run my UiPath solution. So now if I click on run, what would this thing do? It would click on that PowerPoint and would open my PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Now we have this thing open. So this is what our orchestrator looks like. As of now, because I am logged in, it does not give me an option to sign up. But for you, I'll open it in incognito window and also show you. So all you have to do is you'll have to sign up using your Gmail ID. Once you sign up using your Gmail ID, this is where you're going to land. And on the right hand side, you can click here, download studio. So as you'll click on download studio, a file would start downloading. So it's a Windows installer package. You can simply click on save and it will start downloading. And then using this MSI file, you can actually install. You can install that MSI file and that will then install Studio. You will get an option that whether you want to install only Studio or you want to install Studio as well as Assistant. So Assistant something looks like this. So you will select both, that you want to install Studio as well as Assistant. And when I told you that for attended automation, you'll have to go and click and only then the process will run. So that click you'll have to perform from here. Now suppose I have these three process made. If I have to run any of these three process, I'll come and click on run. So this is attended automation. For attended automation, you'll have to open your assistant and you'll have to come and click run here and only then your process will start running. So this is attended automation, whereas unattended automation can be scheduled from here using your orchestrator. So this is what your orchestrator looks like. Okay. And you'll get all these links. So this is when you sign up for the first time, this is what you'll get. You click on sign up, you'll provide all your details. Then once you provide all your details, you land onto this particular page which has download studio on your right hand side. You'll click on download studio and your studio would be downloaded. So you'll have to sign up on cloud.uipath.com, provide your details so that you can get started. Yeah, so this is. So you can continue with Google account or you can continue with your Microsoft account. You'll have to provide the details and you can simply start. Okay. Now we'll make a simple robot. So what a robot is going to do, it will open a particular site named rpachallenge.com. It will open the browser, it will navigate to this particular site, and then we have your invoice extraction, which means there are a lot of invoice details present here with number, ID, due date, and this particular thing is also spanning across multiple pages, which means there is a tabular format of data which is lying on 2 3 pages. And what the robot would do, it would click on each page and would read all the details and store it in an Excel file. Now for us to do, it would be pretty tedious work to open each page, then copy the ID, then copy the due date, and then write it in Excel. And robot is going to do that same task very easily and very quickly. So the first thing that we would do is we would open a browser. We'll open browser. Now we can also tell our robot that which browser do we want to open. We want to open Internet Explorer, we want to open Firefox, we want to open Chrome or Edge. So we'll say, okay, open Chrome. If we want to open new session, so we can even mention that. So we'll mention new session, which means open a new window of Chrome. Which URL do we want to navigate to? We want to navigate to this particular URL. Now, one thing to notice here, so what you can do, either you can land up to homepage, which is here, and then click on invoice extraction from here, or you can directly navigate to invoice extraction. So what we'll do, we'll open rpachallenge.com. Once we open rpachallenge.com, we'll click on invoice extraction. So we'll go to click activity. We'll pick up a click activity, and we will tell that where do we want to click to. So we want to click to invoice extraction. So from here, we can actually validate if everything has been extracted correctly. If it's in green, which means it is correct. Now, suppose if I remove extraction, and now if I go on validating it, if it is in red, which means it is not able to identify it on screen. When I let add extraction here and I'll click on validate, if it is in green, which means it has extracted correctly. Okay. So what I'll be doing, I'll be closing this RP challenge here and I'm going to give this thing a run. So it will open a new Chrome window, open rpachallenge.com, and then would click on invoice extraction. So you can see this green button, which means now the robot is running. It is opening rpachallenge.com, and now it will click on invoice extraction. So it has clicked on invoice extraction. So if we now go back, it has opened invoice extraction. Now if we want to scrape this entire data, all we have to do is that there's an inbuilt tool named data scraping. So we'll use this tool and we'll tell this tool that we want to extract all these details which is present on our screen. And we'll have to do nothing. We'll have to simply indicate first cell. It could be any cell. It could be this cell. It could be this cell. It could be this cell. Doesn't matter. We'll have to indicate a cell and it will automatically detect saying you selected a table cell. Would you like to extract the data from the whole table? And I'll say yes, that I want to extract the data from the entire table. Once I click on yes, it has extracted the data. Okay, so I'll say all the results, 0 is for all. Once I click on finish, it will ask me, is data spanning multiple pages? Which means, do we have data spread across different pages? If yes, then tell me where to click on next button. So I'll say, yes, here is from where you can click on next button. So what this thing would do, this would extract, keep on clicking on next button till it has read all the details and then would stop. Now I want to store all these values into a particular Excel. So as of now, the output of this particular thing is in a data table named extract data table. Now, if I want to write this particular thing into an Excel, so for that I will use write range. Write range actually writes the thing into an Excel file. So I will select a write range. Okay, I can name this particular Excel file with a particular name. Say I'll name it extracted data. .excel assets, which is the extension. Okay. Where do I want to store the data? So I'll say store it in the Excel file. And where my data is, it is in extracted data table variable. Now I'll click on save. Now this thing would do what? It would open rpachallenge.com, navigate to invoice extraction, would read all the data spanning across multiple pages, and then would store the entire data into an Excel file. So all this would be done by the robot that we have just developed. So now the robot is opening rpachallenge.com. It will click on invoice extraction, and now it would go on reading this table and would keep clicking on next to go to the next button. So as you can see, now the page is changing. It is 9, 10, 11, 12, and then it will change to another page. And would then stop, and it would save the entire data into an Excel file. So as soon as it stops, this green button that you see here, which is actually the executor, it will disappear. As of now, I think you would be seeing that it is pretty slow. That's because of the speed of my computer. So I can simply, so if you open output pane, it will show you in what time it has actually performed this particular task. And if I go here from this particular you can see an extracted data Excel file has been created at 4:08 p.m., which is the current computer time. And if I open it, it has all the data that it has extracted from that particular place. So it has ID, it has this thing, it has due date. So it has headers missing. So if you see, header is also there for ID due date. So for that also there's a setting what you can do, that when you are writing to the data, you can click on add headers. So when you click on add headers, even the column name is being copied into the Excel. Now you can also send this Excel to someone using a send Outlook mail message, and you can simply send that Excel file to that person. So for that also there's a simple activity. You can send it using Outlook, you can send it using IBM Notes, you can send it using Gmail. So you can mention the mail ID, you can mention the subject, you can mention the body, what file you want to attach it, you can even mention that. So say simply if I have to send this particular file, I can simply pass in the path of this particular file. Okay, so what I can do, I can pass the file here, I can click on OK. To whom do I want to send it? I can put in my email ID, I can put in my subject and body, and it will simply send that particular thing into my mailbox. So it is this easy to read the data from the web. It could also be from any shopping site or any website, and then you can filter out the data and then you can send it via mail to anyone. So this is the first bot that we have created using Uipath Studio. Now, as I told you, we have Uipath Academy that has varied amount of course from starter to intermediate to advanced. So this is what Uipath Academy looks like. So even the course that we went in through today, what is the myth, how you can get started, how you can download, how you can build your first robot, everything is available here. So you can click on learning by role, and you can select on that you want to learn as an RPA starter, you want to learn as an intermediate, or you want to learn as an advanced. So everything is available here. You can go to courses, all the courses are there. You can go on completing the courses, and you will receive a certification at the end of that process, which of course you can add it to your resume later. So you have starters, you have product training. Then if you scroll down, you'll also have an option of, you want to start as a intermediate or as an advanced. So this is what Uipath Academy looks like. Then what next? We have our UiPath student developer community, which you can join. If you have any more questions, you can email us to studentdeveloper@uipath.com, or you can even email me and I'll help you out with your queries as well. Then we have UiPath community. So events like this, the one we had with JMIT today, there are a lot of events that keep on happening with different colleges, different organizational institutions. Then we have a lot of guest speakers who are industry top RPA leaders. They also come and talk about their experiences and their best practices that they want to share. There are a lot of meetups and conferences that keeps on happening. So if in case you want to join, you're most welcome. Then we have Uipath Forum. So it's actually a crowdsourced support. So if you're stuck anywhere using Studio or in anything in RPA, so there's a forum that is also a website sort of thing. You can post your queries, and there are experts who are available 24/7 around the globe who would be there to assist you and help you with your queries. So that's about it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat box and we'll take it up from there. Thank you guys for being a wonderful audience. Okay, so Drishti, can we solve CAPTCHA using OCR in UiPath? So, to answer that question, CAPTCHAs are basically present so that robot cannot automate it. So that's actually the use of CAPTCHA. So the answer is no, you cannot do that because CAPTCHAs are designed so that the robot can actually not automate it. So CAPTCHAs are to identify whether the person is human or not, and that is why I say robot cannot replace humans. Then Sinan has asked, can we use RPA bots on distributed computer system? For example, I assume that I have 100 computers and I want to use them to data mining and processing. So for data mining and task mining, there is a dedicated tool named Uipath Task Mining. You can use that to do the task mining and all. What is opportunities if we use RPO to make research and development projects or it can be applicable? So it entirely depends on what sort of research and development you are planning to do. As I told you, RPA can be coined with machine learning to do training or to make models so that it becomes more and more intelligent with the training that you provide to that particular machine model that you have created. Because Orchestrator also has a AI center enabled with it, using which you can do a bit of development projects, but it entirely depends on what sort of research you're planning to do using RPA. We call these drag and drop things as actions like capture. Uh, I didn't get this question. Can you be more precise? So actually, these drag and drop things are basically if you want to perform any action, you'll pick up a certain activity dedicated to it, and you can drag and drop that particular activity to get the task done. Then we have attended, manually attended, automatically runs as scheduled. Again, I am not very much clear with the question, Kushal.
I guess we have received a lot of feedback and one question at the end. What's the difference between automation and UI360 and UiPath?
Okay. So, Kushal, the actual difference between Automation Anywhere 360 and Uipath is these are two different automation tools. You can say led by two different companies. It's more like they are kind of doing the same task, but they are two different tools. The UI is different, the courses are different. How you would automate a certain thing using UiPath and how you would automate a certain thing using Automation Anywhere is different. If you want to go with Automation Anywhere, you can go on to using Automation Anywhere Academy, learn the courses there and perform tasks. But as far as I am concerned, if I tell from my personal experience, UiPath is more user friendly and it is easy to learn and get started with. As well as UiPath also offers a lot of advanced features that Automation Anywhere does not offer. So the similarities that they both are RPA tools used to perform do automations, but the way they function and the services they offer they vary.
So I guess that's the end of the question bank which we got from the attendees. So thanks a lot everyone for joining in. Now I'd like to invite Monica ma'am and Mayank on this stream. I hope you can hear me, Mayank and Monica ma'am.
Yes, sir, we are able to hear.
So I'd like to thank Mayank for taking this lead from students' leader point of view and taking it, and Monica ma'am for making sure this collaboration happens with JMIT. Monica ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sir, sure.
Great. It will be great if you could address the students and take it forward.
Okay, thank you from our side also. I'll thank Hack to Skill and Uipath community for organizing this RPA developer camp in collaboration with AR community in JMIT Rado. So I would thank RPA developer opportunities because these kind of opportunities are increasing faster than the other similar opportunities. And apart from the technical opportunities, also there are many other opportunities for non-technical sectors in RPA, such as business analyst. We have solution architect, and also we have some of the it can provide the very well-paying jobs prospects also with these kind of sessions. We have help in these finding these jobs also, and by being a part of this camp, one can also expect to have a develop an inclination towards the RPA and take the learnings to build the career in this work like in this main field of having these such kind of activities. So thank you, Anmol ma'am, and thank you, Anuj, for having us with you.
It was an
Thanks a lot.
awesome.
Okay.
Yes, couldn't agree more. The session was really awesome. Thanks a lot, Anmol, for joining in on the weekday and taking this session for the students and eventually the weekend also. So looking forward to more bots from the students and some amazing creative use cases. Thanks a lot everyone for joining in. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me.